animal rights don't care about the unborn human being.
Yes.
Just beyond like an animal. No, at the same time they don't want you to kill animals. They go around killing
the child.
Yeah. They're just. With that.
Oh. Can you hear me now, Ben? Right. Okay. We're up to Daf Lamed Beis Samud Aleph. I know that Friday people are very, very busy, but tomorrow's Daf includes in it a Bayav and Masada Seder Malvacha.
Everyone has a box here.
Which we send Kabbanis every day. And therefore it's an important Daf to learn tomorrow. Okay. If you wanted to learn about Avodah of Yom Kippur, which parsha would you open? Achremus. Achremus goes through literally pasuk by pasuk the details of how the Kohen got it. I'm going to spend the next 2 days learning these pasukim. And those who've got a chumash will have one advantage. I've already got a chumash. It's not really fair. I tell you now. If you can get yourself a chumash, fine. If not, I'm sure you'll know Achremus off by heart. Backwards. That's it.
Let's go backwards as opposed forwards.
The one small point is like this. The Torah literally tells us everything you need to do. And Rashi points out, but one of the psukim is put in the wrong place. If you've got ability, so it's Perek Tezayin, Pasuk, Beis, and then Gimel. Let's just go through it very, very, very quickly, if you don't mind. Tezayin. Let's go from the beginning of the Perek, very, very quickly. Moshe speaks to Moshe after his sons died. Musa Hashem says to Moshe, don't come into the Kodesh, be based up Pavoichas means pasta Pavoichas. Where's pasta Pavoichas? Where's that? Very good. What does it mean, be'onon? What's that mean? Rashi says 2 explanations. Either with the cloud of the Ketuvos, or my Shechina is there, so profound, it's got the cloud there. So therefore you can't come in without. So he asked me a cow now. It starts off saying, bad. What's the word bad mean in English? No. Oh. So which clothes? These are what we call the full clothes. The full clothes. These are the morning clothes. And the pasuk says, he should first wash himself and then wear them. From here we learn that before you put on white clothes, linen clothes, you have to wash yourself. And then the pasuk says, he brings another 2 animals from the Syrian, and he brings the cow, and he takes the seirim, and he puts lotteries on them. That's pasuk Zayin and Ches, and then he does those soila Hashem and soila Zaza, and then you've got pasuk. I'm going a bit fast, but pasuk Yud Beis. He takes the machdo gachle eish, and where does he take it into? Into the mizbeach, into the kodesh hakadoshim. Sorry. Now, over here, then it says, then it says like this. We've got to be able to look at the he takes the cow and he sprinkles, he does everything he needs to, which is also in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And the pasuk describes from Yud Gimel all the way to Chof, all the different things that he does inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the Ketuvos and the sprinkler, which we're going to learn. Now, what happens is over here in pasuk Chof Gimel, I know I'm going quite fast, because pasuk Chof Gimel, it says, he comes into the Moed. Does anybody know why he comes into the Moed? It's hard questions. Does anybody know? Really need to know with pasuk. Well, why is it going to the Moed? Very good. Very good. To take out the kafam machta. Now, if you look in Rashi, let's see Rashi very quickly, that pasuk of Gimel. This pasuk is in the wrong place. And that is what we're going to be discussing. Why? And the simple reason is like this, very like it's backwards, like this. If he goes to Kodesh HaKadosh and puts the Keteris in, and then he does the sprinkling of the blood in the Kodesh HaKadosh, and then he takes the Keteris out, so he'll do gold, white, gold. How many changes of clothes is that? Only 3. And we know how many times he changes clothes? 5. So what we do is like this. Gold, meaning, what does he do with the first set of clothes of gold? What does he do with it? Basically, what does he do with it? The morning avodah, the tamid, the basic avodah of every day. Then he does the white, which is a special clothes of the Yom Kippur inside Kodesh Kodashim. If you then take it out, to be finished there, so we don't do that. So he goes back into gold to do what? To do the musaf and the other 1 or 2 kabbalas of Yom Kippur. Then he goes back into white just to take the keteris out, and then back into gold. And what does he do with the last set of clothes of gold? What does he do with it? What does he do? Which avodah does he do with it? The Tamid Sheben Arbaim, the last kabbalas of the day. So okay, let's see the Gemara inside. We said a bit of introduction, but inside also, I should explain this a bit better. If you look in Pasuk Dalet, it says V'ochatz b'mayis b'sor levesham, and Rashi tells us that in order to change into the white clothes, he has to wash himself. And then the Pasuk says that when it comes to where is it? So Pasuk Chof Dalet, so it's quite a long way further. It says V'ochatz b'sor b'mayim, he should wash himself and get dressed. So Pasuk Dalet and Pasuk Chof Dalet, both times it tells us wash yourself and get dressed. Why do we have 2 psukim? Anybody want to tell me? Better. You're close. The first time is when you're getting into white clothes. The second time is getting into gold clothes. If you look at Rashi and Chof Dalet, if you can see Rashi very successful. Rashi writes very clearly. Rashi Chof Dalet. The man big day love when change from gold to white on tvila. They can. I'm missing out a few words. Rashi okay, that's actually, if you've got those Rashis clear, you've got a lot of this stuff clear. It says well, 3rd line from the top. Why does it count? Shiur told us this before. To take out this, the kaf and the machta, that is the pan with the coals, and the spoon with the keteris. Everything in this parsha Nachrimus is said in the correct order. The exception is 1 pasuk. I looked, many Mefarshim ask why indeed is this pasuk written in the wrong order. There are many explanations, but very complicated ones, nothing which I could throw out. So it's an interesting question if you want to investigate. This pasuk is in the wrong order. My Tama, why do we know? How do we know it's in the wrong order? Amar Chisda. So Chisda says like this: Gemiri, we know. Verse 5 washes 10. Sidron. If the pasuk is in the correct order, he's only got 3 dipping and 6 changing, because it's 6 washing hands and feet, because then he's changing his clothes 3 times. How do we know this? This pasuk, by the way, is pasuk Chof Dalet, the latter pasuk, which is discussing the end of the day, where he's putting on the golden clothes, and the pasuk says that he has to tevel before he puts on the golden clothes. From here we learn he has to tevel. Rabbi argues, and the more later will explain the exact argument. Big day kodesh, these are kodesh clothes. Which pasuk is he quoting from, by the way? No, that was the pasuk Dalet, the first pasuk, which is from what to what? Into white clothes. Very good. So one learns it from gold clothes, one learns it from white clothes. Both times it says he has to wash, and the pasuk tells us that he has to tevel before. And the pasuk says big day kodesh, these are holy clothes. And then more later will explain that these words are spare. That just like the Gemara explained, just like you change from gold to gold clothes after tevel, also you change it to white clothes. The Chomesh avodas say, what are the 5? Here the Gemara tells us very briefly the 5 avodas, which is really very essential to understanding the rest of a lot of Yoma. Tamid shel shachar, the morning tamid, the big day zov, wearing gold clothes. How many clothes is the big day zov? 8. Avodas hayom b'big delovam. What's the avodas hayom? Two main avodas hayom. What's the two main avodas hayom? Yes, you like the soil, but what about the soil? The sprinkling, the 1 up, 7 down in front of the Owen, and then he did it in front of the Perichas, and then he did it on the Mizbeach, and then he did the same to the goat, to the cow and the goat. So sprinkling inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that's one aspect of Avodas Hayom. What's the other aspect of Avodas Hayom? The Ketuvos, taking the Ketuvos into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So Avodas Hayom, getting back to the big day Lavan. Eloi Hizva Ve'La'am, that's the common oilos which he brings, the big day Zov. Kafel Machto, taking them out, big day Lavan. How much been our big day Zov? How do you know that every time he tovels, he has to wash his hands and feet twice? The pasuk says he should take off his clothes and then rochatz. That's pasuk chav gimel to chav daled if you look carefully, and then it says v'rochatz v'lovash. So since it says that he should wash before and after, we learn that he has to wash twice. But you don't need to come onto these psukim. If he does not need to tova, when does a person not need to tova? During the rest of the year, he doesn't need to tova. Ton kiddush, every single kohen has to wash his hands and feet. Mokum sheton tefillah in a place where he does need to do tefillah, like on Yom Kippur, which he has to do tefillah. In addition to kiddush, he's not kavachim. He has to wash his hands and feet. Just like normally on a normal day of the year, you wash your hands and feet once. After kiddush echad, Ufoshat is big day aboda shalobash. Ansh come into the moed and take off the clothes that he wore. The words that has shalobash that he wore or spare. Nobody ever takes off clothes unless the clothes that he wore. So why is it possible to say he takes off the clothes that he wore? Shalobash. Klum adam peshet and shalobash. Elohakish pshita levisha. Ma levisha ton kiddush apshita ton kiddush. Just like Jeff dressed need to wash his feet, also taking off. I'll summarize briefly what we've learned. The Gemara agrees, everybody agrees that how many times does he wash Tovel? 5. He washes his hands and feet 10 times. The Gemara brings Achlik said that Yehuda Steinberg is going to analyze in a minute. Where do we know it from? One person brings from the last pasuk, which describes getting into gold coats at the end of the day. And one person learns it from the white coat, which gets into the beginning of the day. The Gemara will elaborate what's exactly the Machlik. Then the Gemara moves on to a new topic. How do they need to wash their hands and feet? The Gemara brings another Machlik. One man says, because it says wash, dress, wash. And according to him, the washing is washing hands and feet, not tabling. Rabbi Shimon disagrees. He says you don't need to turn on from there. In fact, we shouldn't explain it because he uses those psukim to tell you Tvila, not Yehuda Steinberg, right? So he learns it to Kavachim, and let's get the Kavachim very clear. A normal kohen on a normal day of the year, when he goes into Beis Hamikdash, what does he need to do? Wash his hands and feet. He does not need to tovel. On Yom Kippur, the Kagod needs to tovel. If already a normal kohen on Yom Kippur were more machmir that needs to tovel, of course needs to wash his hands and feet. Every kohen on a normal day of the year needs to wash his hands and feet, does not need to tovel. He needs to tovel, Kavachim needs to wash his hands and feet. Says the Gemara, from there you don't need, let me finish if you only know one. Answers the Gemara because it says he should take off the clothes that he wore. Obviously he wore. The answer is taking off like wearing, just like when you take off your wash hands and feet, also when you wear your hands. Now, this halacha, that a normal kohen, when he goes into the Beis Hamikdash on the normal day of the year, does not need to tovel. True or false? Achlekas who and who? Yehuda and Ben Zoma. Very, very good. Yehuda and Ben Zoma. Ben Zoma tells us the reason he tovels is only with the Rabbanon in order, in case, why does he have to tovel with the Rabbanon? Why does he have to? What? Why does he have to tovel with the Rabbanon? Did I mix it up? Is it Rabbi Yehuda? Am I saying Rabbi Yehuda's explanation? Oh, you're right. I made a mistake. Rabbi Yehuda says with Rabbanon. Ben Zoma says it's Deraisa. Sorry. Ben Zoma says it's Deraisa. Rabbi Yehuda says it's Rabbanon. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say it's Rabbanon? It's a reminder. So that in case he was really genuinely Tomei, let's say it's Beis or Sheretz, he needs to. This Gemara of Rabbi Shimon. Quiz question. Does he hold like Rabbi Yehuda or Ben Zoma? Does Rabbi Yehuda hold like Ben? This Rabbi Rabbi Shimon, does he hold like Rabbi Yehuda Ben Zoma? Levi knew. You know with me. Very good, very good. Exactly. So he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, not like Ben Zoma. Because if you held up Ben Zoma holds you have to table every day, so your kavachim is falling by the wayside. Rashi tells it to us in 2-3 words. But Maisa, that is correct. Yehuda the Maisa doesn't hold. Rabbi Shimon does not hold of Tefillah Derais. Okay. Now the Gemara goes into it a little bit. Some people say, Omar Yehuda, we're up to 6 lines at the bottom. So we learn from that pasuk, which is the pasuk right at the end of the parasha, that when you change it to gold clothes, you have to turn. It says we see from white to gold. But mean 9. How do you know from gold to white? That means we've only got a pasuk. If you're only quoting that latter pasuk, which talks about changing from white to gold, then you need to turn. But where do you know that when you change from gold to white, you need to turn? Top of Lamed Beis, top of the page. We'll make a kal v'chomer. What's more chomer? What would you say? Gold or white? What's more chomer?
Right.
Why? Very good. Even more. Oh, you're going to Kodesh HaKadoshim. The white goes to Kodesh HaKadoshim, so it's more chomer. So if already getting into gold clothes, you need to tevel. Kavachim getting into white clothes, which is now going to allow you to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Kavachim you need to tevel. Is that clear? Is everything clear, Levi? You're happy about this? Excited? No, but I thought you'd be excited about this. We've moved on a bit. I explained what we're discussing now. The Machlokes, Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. The Torah actually, interestingly enough, tells us twice that he has to turn. And you're very busy with Rashi. Rashi there says, why is it to have twice? One's to tell you from white to gold, and one to tell you from gold to white. Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda, though, in our Gemara, don't do like Rashi. What they do is each one takes one pasuk, and from that one pasuk, he learns everything. So we started with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda was the one who learned it from the last pasuk, which talks about changing from white clothes to gold clothes. So which time of day are we talking about? The end of the day. He's almost finished, changes into gold clothes in order to do what? Tovish without back. The pasuk says he has to tevel. Says Rabbi Yehuda, from there I learn that you would have to tevel 5 times on Yom Kippur. Pray the Gemara, who told you? Maybe only from white to gold, but how do you know from gold to white? He also has to tevel. Where do you know it from? Answers the Gemara, kal v'chomer. What do we say? How do you know? Oh, we said the pasuk. Rabbi Yehuda is reluctant. We'll see in a minute. Rabbi Yehuda is reluctant to learn from a pasuk. He prefers to say like Yehuda says. That's a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? What's more kaddish? White clothes or gold clothes? White clothes. White clothes are able to go to Kodesh HaKadoshim. Says Rabbi Yehuda, if the pasuk tells me that when I change at the end of the day into my gold clothes for Tovish V'Labay, not me, I'm not a Kohen Gadol. Can never be one. But a Kohen who could become a Kohen Gadol has to change it to gold clothes. And at the end of the day, has to tevel. Kavachim, at the beginning of the day, when it changes to white clothes, has to tevel. Let's see the more inside. Top line based on the base, top line. Told Rabbi Yisroel, Kavachim. Maybe deserve shein kenichnas ben ifnai ben ifnim. You can't go into Kodesh HaKadoshim. Ton tvila big delovin shnichnas ben ifnai ben ifnim and they don't ton tvila. Asks what ikele mifrach. Male big deserve shein kaparosim merubo. There's much more kapara with gold than with white. Here we have slightly different nuances, and we're showing them in what way is gold more kapara than white. Anybody want to suggest? No, but it's Vashma. The Zov was double gold. No. Why is the big day Zov got more kapara than big day Lovin? What would you say? What do you do with it? No, well, you got a bit thing. Tesa says because all year round, every single day of the year, he's working in gold clothes. So he does hundreds and hundreds of kabbanas in gold clothes. The white clothes he only wears twice. That's how Tesa says. Actually, it's slightly more complicated. This is something very fundamental if you get it clear. On Yom Kippur, he actually brings 2 chatois and a soila azazah. The 2 chatois are the cow and the goat. One, the cow belongs to him, the goat belongs to Kali, so the he-goat. Plus the he-goat which sends la azazah. Now, this is a very hard question. I remember I was asked this, I think 10 or 12. I was quite stunned by the answer. I didn't know the answer. And I was told the answer, I was stunned. There are 3 korbanos in Yom Kippur. The cow which belongs to him, the he-goat belongs to Kali, which is a chatos, plus the he-goat. Now, we know that every chatos is to be mechaper to atone. What do they atone for, these 3 korbanos? Does anybody know after? Well, you're all saying bits, but you're not complete, but you all said a very good. Right? So you're 50%, 70%. You're saying that. The cow was him, his family, and then afterwards the kuna. The he-goat was Klal Yisrael. But both of them, as Shai said, only for the fact for one Aveira. Which Aveira? If somebody was Tomei and went inside the Beis Hamikdash, or he ate korbanos when he was Tomei, that's what those two animals were for. The he-goat that was sent to the Soil Azazel, how much does that do? Every single other Aveira. I remember being very shocked about it. Of the whole of Klal Yisrael, him, his family, the whole Kohana, the whole of Klal Yisrael, and every Aveira. The he-goat, again, the cow was for him and the Kohana for Tumah. The he-goat was for Tumah of who? The he-goat, the first he-goat was the Tumah for who? For the whole of Klal Yisrael. Wait a second, let me just finish off. The cow was for the Kohen and the Kohana for Tumah. The he-goat was for the whole of Klal Yisrael for Tumah. And the Soil Azazel was all the Aveiros for the whole of Klal Yisrael with the exception of Tumah. Says Rashi, so when he sprinkled the blood, what was he doing? What was he doing? Was doing the cow and the he-goat. What was he doing a kapor for Tumas Mikdash V'Kadoshim, we call it? He says that is a very small kapor compared to the big Dizov. That is how Rashi explains. This is not like Rashi at all. And Tis says, what's big Dizov got more kapor? What's big Dizov got more kapor? What would you say, Moshe? You know, with me? Whenever it's psukim, it's very, very hard to get into it. But again, Rashi just said that why is the gold more? Because it's the Soil Azazel, which takes off everything, 612 mitzvahs, and for the whole of Klal Yisrael. Mashenkin, what he does with the sprinkling is only the count he gets. But Tis is a much more simple explanation why the gold is more kapor. Because the whole year, that's right. You're mixing things up, Leif. What? Yeah, he will go every day of the year except for Yom Kippur. That's what Tis says. That was the kick. That's what the kapor merubah, not the fact that okay, you're not happy. I think you should be dancing. Okay, but that's not the point. No, but the point is, most of that void that you always did. So if somebody was to ask you, what's more Kaddish, gold or white, what would you say?
Gold.
Oh.
No, it doesn't make it more Kaddish.
It is. It's more important because at the end of the day, you do much more with it. The answer is we don't know. White has one aspect of greatness. It goes to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Gold has one. No, it's not machlokas. They both have unique. When each. The reason why we go with white is not to remind the version of the. Now you're being Muslim. So now that you have each one has its own aspect. Can you make a kavachima now? Can you make a kavachima? Can you make shalom? Can you make a kavachima? Very good. That's how I wanted to hear. Yeshua, can you make a kavachima? Can you make a kavachima? You can't make a kavachima anymore. It's gone. What do you say, Moshe? Can you make a kavachima? You can't make a kavachima anymore. If the white has got one thing special, goes to Kodesh HaKadoshim, and the gold has got something special that you do it every day, use it every day of the year, or use it the Solar Azazel or Azvashi, whatever. At the end of the day, you can't make a kavachim anymore because each one's more special. Says the Gemara, 4 lines to the top. And a nafkelim with the Rebbe, like Levi you want to say earlier, that what? That he learns, he's forced his some bit to Rebbe, that is 2 different psukim. Omar Rebbe. Now it comes out that Rabbi Yehuda, if somebody would say to Rabbi Yehuda, how do you know that you have to change from gold to white, from white to gold, needs to table? The answer is there's 2 psukim. One telling you from white to gold, one telling you from gold to white. So in fact, it's actually half agreed with Rebbe. So now we have to establish in what way does Rebbe disagree with Rabbi Yehuda. Are you with me? There's no kavachim. So he's forced to use both psukim. If he's forced to use both psukim, so what's the difference from Rebbe? Now we're going to see what the difference is. Oh, so now the Gemara suggests the same svot. This is the other way around. If white chain kapos and merubah and tvila, big dezav shel kapos didn't shtun tvila. The Gemara brings a pasuk that you have to tova when you go into white. It says more kavachim when you go into gold. Why is it kavachim when you go into gold? Because gold is more kaddish. In what way is gold more kaddish? Use all around. Says the Gemara, no, ikele mifach. What's the Gemara going to ask now without looking inside? Because goes to the kedoshim, ikele mifach. Man gedelovach k'nich das ben ifnai v'defnei. And the Rebbe comes on to a new pasuk. Big de kodesh hey brachas sober ma'am levesham. The words big de kodesh are spare, so he uses it. So therefore, to summarize, and this is very, very important. There are 2 psukim that you need to address to tova when you change. Rabbi Yehuda uses both. One from white to gold, one from gold to white, and that's how he learns everything. Rabbi only uses one. He only uses the one where you change from gold into white. From white into gold, he learns from the extra words Big Kodesh, which means according to Rabbi, we actually have a little pasuk spare because he doesn't need to, because he used Big Kodesh as we'll learn in a minute. Okay, says the Gemara. The Chomish Avodah saying, what are the 5 avodas? Chomish Shacha, this is a repetition of the previous Gemara, Big Day Zav. Avodah Siyim, the avodas of the day, Big Day Lavam. Eilu ve'elam, his ram, which is actually an oila Big Day Zav. Kafo Machto, taking them out, Big Day Lavam, Chomish Ben Arbaim, Big Day Zav. U'minayish kol tvilo tzicha shnei ketushim. Tamlim ha'poshet v'ochatz lova, shall we explain 2 psukim. V'ei the Gemara, hi betfila, that pasuk is actually talking about tvila, not washing your hands. Answers go, Eino inyan the tvila, we're going to Shittas Rabbi. And Shittas Rabbi does not need that pasuk. Why does not need that pasuk? The nafkilim big the kodesh. Today, if that's the case, if it's only for kiddush shadayim v'aglayim, v'lichtivach v'dav loshen kiddush, why does the Torah use the word barochat, which normally means to toivel? Whenever the Torah uses the word barochat, it all means toiveling. For example, in Pashas, what's that? Chukas, it says barochat b'mayim. In the Pashas Shmini, in the Pashas Tazviah, it says barochat always means toiveling. Why over here does he use the word barochat? Says the Gemara. The tefillah kiddush, kiddush b'mokim kodesh, af tefillah b'mokim kodesh. That when you tovel the Beis Hamikdash in Yom Kippur, it has to be b'mokim kodesh. You can't tovel outside the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Yehuda kiddush v'noli. But Rabbi Yehuda that uses both sukkim because he doesn't learn big day kodesh. How does he know kiddush v'dai v'aglayim? And so even after the Abloz Rabbi Shimon, he learns it from Abloz Rabbi Shimon. Which who had Abloz Rabbi Shimon know that you need to kiddush v'dai v'aglayim? Anybody remember? How does Abloz Rabbi Shimon say from? No, how he said Kamchim, you're right. If every day of the year you don't need to wash your hands, Kamchim on Yom Kippur. Think about that only tells you once. How do you know twice? The Pasha the big day Kodesh Shashalova, she takes off the clothes that you wore. Everybody takes off the clothes that you wear. And so it's to tell you getting off, like getting dressed, you need to do another washing hands and feet. Says it more. This of Rabbi that says that you should wash your hands after. Let me take this. Rabbi learns that you should do kiddush shadayim v'aglayim from the pasuk that says of pashat, get undressed. V'rochatz, you should wash and get dressed. We always understood v'rochatz to mean tvila. Rabbi came along and told us v'rochatz does not mean tvila. What does it mean? Kiddush shadayim v'aglayim. Why does it not mean tvila? Because tvila already know from being the kodesh. Now the problem is the pasuk uses the word of pashat, gets undressed and then he washes. But Chisda understood that according to Rabbi, you do kiddush shadayim v'aglayim when you're completely undressed. So this is according to Rabbi. We had actually yesterday. Shittas Chomim Lamer. I go very, very briefly to Chomim Lamer, and then we're going to go to Rabbi. According to the Chomim, you're completely dressed, you wash your hands and feet, you get undressed, you tovel, you get dressed, you wash your hands and feet. That's the Chomim. The Lamer says, you get undressed, you wash your hands and feet, you tovel, you get dressed, and then you wash your hands and feet. Rabbi says, you get undressed, you wash your hands and feet, you tovel, you wash your hands and feet again, and then you get dressed. So both washing hands and feet are when? And both when you're not wearing anything. How does he know it? Because it says, Poshat, Barochatz, Velovash. When you're dressed, you do Kiddush. You only get do Kiddush time after you get undressed. It's not like a Meir either. The latter Kiddush of a Meir. When was the latter Kiddush of a Meir? Anybody remember? The latter Kiddush of a Meir. No, that the first one was the latter Kiddush of Kiddush time according to a Meir is after you dress. Because Shulovish B'Kaddish. Or Kishu Peshet B'Kaddish. Omar Yaakov disagrees that Kol Moed B'Kiddush Sheni Shulovish V'Achach B'Kaddish. But Yaakov says everybody agrees that you first get dressed and then you wash your hands and feet. Why? The pasuk says that you should wash your hands and feet when you go to the mizbeach. Let's get the words very, very clear. Very good. You have to be ready to go to the mizbeach. This person is not yet dressed. How can he be ready to go to the mizbeach? Therefore, he still needs to get dressed before he goes to the mizbeach. Therefore, according to Rabbi Yaakov, you first get dressed and then you wash hands and feet. So let's go summarize very, very quickly. There are 3 shittas. Maybe you're Kohen, you need to know this. When you wash hands and feet. No, because Rabbi Yaakov is actually like Chachamim. It's not a new shitta. It's a new shitta in Rebbe. I'm not going to say it's the 4th shitta because it's not the 4th way of doing it. Sure, you memorizing this? The 3 ways to do Kedusha Dam Raglaim. Shittas Chachamim. What's Shittas Chachamim?
Always when he's stressed.
Very good, simple and straightforward. Always when he's dressed. Wash your hands and feet, get undressed. Tovel, get dressed, wash your hands and feet. Shittas Rebbe. Always when you're undressed. Undress, wash your hands and feet. Tovel, wash your hands and feet, get dressed. Now, Rabbi Yaakov, according to Rabbi, disagrees, by the way. Rabbi Yaakov, according to Rabbi, disagrees, but we'll leave that. Shittas Rameh is it depends. When you're getting undressed, you undress, then you do Kedusha Dam and then you table. When you're getting dressed, you get dressed and you wash your hands and feet. What did he say? Okay. Why?
Because you're going when you're undressed.
Why not? We discussed it yesterday. We know yesterday you have to. Shadow was so it's just shadow, but you have to cover yourself. What? I do. You're going to be dressed. You're going to get dressed. You might need to wash your hands and feet. Okay. Says they don't hold of each other. That means don't think that they agree with each other and that you have to wash both before you get dressed and after, because they'd have to wash 15 times. If you hold that you have to wash when you're undressed and wash when you're dressed, then you actually have to wash 15 times, according to, and that the Gemara says we don't agree. Okay, if you look at Satamet Kodsoi, by Kodsoi, what does Kodsoi mean? What does the word Kodsoi mean? So Levi wish a big mazel tov. Levi was zeicher today to shecht a cow. Did you make a bracha? Very good, mazel tov. No, he shechted it. You know, there's a tremendous lumdus. What exactly is the mitzvah of shechita? Because if you don't eat meat, you don't need to shecht. Is it a mitzvah chiyuvis, kiyumis? Is it kodim to other things? But okay. Oh, it's in the same as tzitzis. That's what Shua is asking. That's a good Shem Kvega discusses it. Oh, but tzitzis you can. Okay. Omale, Ola, Lishna the Ktala, who means to kill. Omal Nachal Beisach by Kor, Egli Fefia Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is like a beautiful cow. Keretz Mitzafah Bovo, a killer from the north is coming. Does anybody know who the killer from the north is? Who was the main killer of the north? Nebuchadnezzar. He came from Bava, which is the north of Eretz Yisrael. If you picture vaguely a map of Eretz Yisrael, I don't have a good map of it, but Bava is like Iraq, Iran area, and that's north of Eretz Yisrael. Very, very briefly, I'll tell you a tiny bit of tragic history. The end of Yomi, if you ever get to there. So what happened was, after the Churban, Kaisel said to Yomi, Yonavi, what should we do? So Yonavi said, what's the point of asking me? After I tell you, you're not going to listen. Things haven't changed in thousands of years. So they said to him, we promise you we will listen. So he asked Hashem, what should Kaisel do after the Churban? What did Kaisel say to Hashem? What did Hashem say to Yomi, Yonavi? They should stay in Eretz Yisrael. And he told Kaisel, stay in Eretz Yisrael. What did Kaisel say to Yomi, Yonavi? You are a liar. You're making it up. And Hashem never told you that. We're all going to go to Mitzrayim, right. And they all went off to Mitzrayim. And what happened? Nebuchadnezzar came to Mitzrayim and killed them all out. Very sad.
We all knew they would listen. Still.
No, they promised to do it. So this is the pasuk saying Keretz Mitzrayim is the killer, the slaughterer from the north. Okay. My mask with Dr. Yosef, Malke Yoyav Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is a beautiful king. I mean, contain Mitzvah Yisrael. The north kingdoms will come onto it. Kol to become, how much should you cut? Most of the two. Why not the whole Shnaim? Everybody shout out. Very good. Shokish asked the question in Mishnah Chunin. The Mishnah Chunin says what? Mishnah Chunin says that when you shecht a bird, Levi, how much do you have to shecht when you shecht a bird? Very good. You shecht an animal, wove 2. And the Mishnah finishes off after you shecht. Mishnah says like this: bird, wove 1. Animal, wove 2. And the Mishnah finishes off. And that if you do wove 2, it's good enough. That's obvious. If I tell you need to do wove 2, then obviously if I tell you that if you do wove 2, it's good enough. What's the Mishnah trying to add? That was the question Mishlokish had on the Mishnah in the Chunin. Let's read the words inside. Why do you have to tell me that wove is enough? You might have thought apostle. You might have thought that Gabi the Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur, that if he doesn't do the entire 2 simonim, it's possible. I would never have even thought such a thing. I'd never have entertained such an idea. Why? I know that the Kohen Gadol has to finish it because the Kohen Gadol has to do all that with the Yom Kippur. So therefore, obviously, it cannot be that that you need to do all 2. Yochod ye possible to abandon. The Gemara says like this. You might have thought, okay, min hatayra roiv is enough. But midrabanon, Chazal wanted that you have to finish. Why would Chazal want you to have to finish? Anybody want to say? Why? No, with the Tama. What's the reason? No, it's because to make the blood flow well, and the night where you can catch all the blood. Therefore, the Gemara says, let's see the Gemara on top. Says the Gemara, it's not possible. The Gemara says there's 3 stages. You could have thought it's the Raisa, you could have thought it's the Rabbanon, you could have thought it's just a mitzvah. And the Gemara says it is only a mitzvah. The fact that it's not Mechiyuv Midoraisa to finish the 2 we learned from the first half of the Mishnah, because Mishnah says that Roiv is enough. The fact that it's not a Chiyuv Midorabanon is from the fact that Mishnah finishes off, that if you do Roiv is good enough. Or what's the Chiddush? You just told me that Roiv is good. That is good enough, that even Midorabanon you don't need to do more. And so why are we here? Do we get somebody else to finish it? The answer is to make a proper flow, we do a mitzvah. But the Maisa, because it's only a mitzvah, but not a chiyuv d'oraisa, and not even a chiyuv d'rabbanon, we don't insist that the Kohen Gadol does it, but rather we allow somebody else to do it. The next Gemara is what we should be saying every single day in Shachis. Abai Mesada said the Ma'och V'Shmod the Gemara V'Libad HaMashor. What? Before Shachis Kabbalas. Let me just race through it. Do you mind if I go through it very quickly and then because it's fine? I've got 4 minutes. Abai Mesada said the Ma'och V'Shmod the Gemara. V'Shmod the Gemara means in the name of the Beis Hamedrash. Let's say, for example, we have a discussion with somebody, we come out. That means the Bnei Yeshiva came up with this conclusion. V'alibad Abba is going to Shtas Abba Shor, not going to the Chachamim. Does anybody remember what Abba Shor and the Chachamim argue? Oh, you're close, but no, not. That you split the 5 candles and the 2 candles. What do you split it with? That's the machlekes. Let's do. On the mizbeach there were a number of fires, and every day you had to light them and stoke them and set them up. The big fire was called the Malach HaKetelah. The Malach HaKetelah was the small fire from which you would take coals to burn the keteros. Which fire should you do first? The big one or the small one? It says Abai Malach HaKetelah. Is before the second one, smaller one, which is solely for the keteros. There was a mitzvah to put 2 logs of wood on the big fire. When do you do that? When you're setting up the first one, or after you finish setting up the second one? And it's quite strange. You set up the first one, then you set up the second one, then you go back to the first one and put on the 2 logs of wood. Then then you go inside the Beis Hamikdash and you clean the inside mizbeach. We showed him all last day. It doesn't do anywhere about cleaning the outside mizbeach. It's a very big problem. Abai didn't discuss when you should clean the outside mizbeach. We haven't got time to discuss it. This was you first clean the mizbeach, then you clean the menorah. So it didn't get cleaned?
It got cleaned as of need. It wasn't
what you're saying, some of the shouldn't answer, and some say that was included in the Tumas HaDesha, but not, you're saying that it didn't get cleaned every day. That's what you're saying.
Okay, it got cleaned 3 times a day, 4 times a day.
No. So then when did it get cleaned? Which time of day?
They got dust or they need to take care of the ash on the fire.
I hear. That's not, anybody, nobody says that, I'm afraid. But Levi says it. But Damatomid comes before the Damatomid. You should just be aware, Damatomid over here doesn't just mean the sprinkling of the blood. It means the shechting of the blood, the shechting of the animal, catching it. The whole process of the Tomid, since the blood is the most important, we say for the Damatomid. But Damatomid comes then you do the blood, then you do the 2 candles, that's the last 2 candles. Then you do the keteros. The keteros is the evom. Then you do the limbs of the common Tomid. The evom lemincha, that's the mincha of the common Tomid. The mincha lechavitin, the chavitin of the Kohen Gadol. The chavitin in the sachin. Then you do the wine libations of the common Tomid. The sachin and musafin on Shabbos or Yom Tov. You have musafin. It's after the sachin. Musafin and bazichin on Shabbos. You do the bazichin after the musafin. The bazichin is the 2 spoons of the levoina which came from the lechem of the shulchan. From the shulchan. The summit should be now by Hashlamim can also mean the word hashli. On that you complete. The last thing you ever did was the common Tomid, and that came after the Bazichin. What did you say? I didn't tell. Yes. Very good. And tomorrow the Gemara goes in, there's another thing, working out the proof to every one of those stages. Shkirch, every very, very good Shabbos. Now, by the way, on Yom Tov, there's a timetable. We're having this shown basically roughly mincha time, and like roughly 6-7 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sunday morning.
No, Sunday morning we do it. We do it in the evening, not in the morning. You want it in the morning? Why he said that people will be rushing in the morning. What? We'll stop early to give people time to go to the shuls, prospective shuls.